Medium format cameras have traditionally been associated with deliberate, slower-paced photography, studio portraits, landscape work, and fine art imagery. The Hasselblad X2D Mark challenges that assumption by introducing enhanced continuous autofocus AFC and subject tracking capabilities. But the pressing question remains, are these upgrades genuinely useful, or is the feature more marketing hype than real-world advantage? A group of photographers recently put the X2D Mark II through its paces in real-world conditions: skate parks, soccer fields, city streets, and dimly lit tunnels. The results offer a nuanced look at how this camera performs when pushed beyond its expected comfort zone. First impressions at the skate park. The test began at Lake Tikik Skate Park in Hong Kong, under sweltering summer heat. The environment was far from ideal for delicate gear, with humidity and high temperatures quickly warming up the camera body. Yet the Hasselblad soldiered on without major issues, providing a good initial stress test for its durability. The goal was simple: evaluate whether the X2D Mark II could hold focus on fast-moving skaters as they dropped into ramps, performed tricks, and darted across the park. Traditionally, medium-format cameras are not the tool of choice in this scenario. Slower autofocus and limited burst rates often make it difficult to capture fleeting action. Despite these constraints, the X2D Mark II surprised the testers. By half-pressing the shutter to engage subject tracking, the camera locked onto eyes and faces with surprising consistency. The tracking didn't hunt back and forth as aggressively as expected, maintaining focus during sequences that would likely have been missed with earlier Hasselblad models such as the 907X. The first batch of images suggested that while the X2D Mark II wouldn't rival a Canon EOS R5 or Sony A1 in sheer speed, it was competent enough to deliver usable sports images, a radical shift for medium format users. Moving to the soccer field next, trial took place on a nearby soccer pitch. Using the 90mm f2.5 lens, the photographer captured players in motion walking, jogging, and sprinting toward the camera. This was a particularly challenging scenario, since rapid changes in speed and direction often confuse autofocus systems. The Hasselblad's continuous autofocus impressed again. While the frame rate remained modest compared to dedicated sports cameras, the majority of images were in focus, particularly when the subjects were moving at steady speeds. The hit rate dropped slightly during abrupt movements, but even then, the results were respectable. At apertures as wide as f2.5, focus remained acceptably sharp on eyes and faces, showing that the AF engine could handle shallow depth of field. In several bursts, every frame was sharp, a result that would have been almost unthinkable with older medium format bodies. This performance prompted the tester to comment that the X2D Mark II could easily be used for martial arts events like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where action is dynamic but not as chaotic as a professional soccer match. The combination of tracking and respectable burst capabilities ensured a higher keeper rate than expected. Back to the studio. Reviewing the results after hours in the hot sun, the photographers returned to a cooler studio to carefully evaluate the images. This is where the hype versus reality debate really took shape. Portraits and controlled action on series involved Milo, a playful dog, trotting toward the lens. At f2.5, the depth of field was razor thin, yet the X2D Mark II kept the dog's eyes in focus through multiple frames. Animal detection mode contributed significantly here, tracking the subject without hesitation. Not every image was perfect. Sudden appearances into the frame occasionally resulted in missed focus, but the overall hit rate was higher than expected. The results suggested that while the EF system wasn't flawless, it offered a leap forward compared to the 907X or first-generation X2D. Human subjects. Test shots of people jogging and walking toward the camera yielded similar success. Wide open at f2.5 with the 90mm lens, eye tracking nailed focus in most sequences. Missed frames were relatively rare, and even those could often be salvaged for personal use. In shaded areas, where autofocus typically falters, the camera still performed admirably. Faces were tracked reliably even under reduced contrast lighting, proving that the new AF algorithms had been designed to cope with real-world environments rather than controlled studio conditions. Sports and fast-moving subjects. Studio review moved on to sports sequences. Soccer players in mid-action and skateboarders in motion provided challenging test cases. The X2D Mark II managed to lock onto subjects consistently, capturing sharp frames despite rapid acceleration and direction changes. At 5.6, depth of field provided more forgiveness, and almost all frames were acceptably sharp. Even wide open, the keeper rate was high enough to inspire confidence. Importantly, the autofocus didn't hunt dramatically, which is often a frustration with medium format systems. Instead, it tracked smoothly and decisively, avoiding the hesitation that leads to missed moments. The skate park images stood out as particularly impressive. Capturing athletes descending ramps and performing tricks requires precise focus timing. The X2D Mark II handled this without losing the subject, offering clear, detailed images that would hold up in professional use. Low-light challenge zone of the most revealing tests came in an underpass with dim lighting. Traditionally, Hasselblad cameras and many other medium-format systems struggle in such environments due to lower light sensitivity and slower AF modules. Here, the X2D Mark II once again exceeded expectations. At f2.5, it locked onto a subject walking through shifting light with surprising accuracy. Hair and facial details remained crisp, showing that the autofocus engine could handle conditions that would have caused older models to fail outright. This was perhaps one of the strongest arguments in favor of the upgrade. Photographers can now trust the camera in less than perfect lighting, broadening its usability beyond bright, controlled settings. Limitations to consider. Despite these successes, the X2D Mark II does not pretend to be a dedicated sports camera. Its burst rate remains modest, meaning it cannot match the frame density of cameras like the Sony A1 or Canon R3. For photographers needing dozens of frames per second, Hasselblad is still not the right choice. Additionally, while the autofocus system is significantly improved, it is not flawless. Sudden subject movements, unpredictable entries into the frame, or extremely erratic action can still produce misfocused frames. For critical high-speed assignments, a hybrid workflow that combines Hasselblad with a faster system might remain necessary. However, for portraitists, wedding photographers, lifestyle shooters, or even event documentarians who occasionally face fast-moving subjects, the X2D Mark II now provides a reliable tool without requiring a complete system change. Personal takeaways and upgrade decisions. Lead tester ultimately decided to sell his beloved 907X and commit to the X2D Mark II. His reasoning was simple. The new autofocus system reduced the number of missed moments with his family, particularly his young daughter. For him, this alone justified the upgrade, capturing fleeting expressions and gestures that would previously have been lost to misfocus. From a professional standpoint, he acknowledged that the X2D Mark II wouldn't replace his Canon system for demanding sports assignments. However, as a versatile tool that merged medium format image quality with functional continuous autofocus, it represented a sweet spot for his needs. Conclusion: is the AFC overhyped? So, is Hasselblad's continuous autofocus in the X2D Mark II overhyped? The evidence suggests otherwise. No, it doesn't turn the X2D Mark II into a blazing fast sports machine. It won't rival Sony, Canon, or Nikon's flagship models for frame rate or absolute tracking speed. But what it does accomplish is transformative within the medium format world. It makes action, pets, children, and even casual sports photography achievable with a camera once thought too slow for such tasks. For many photographers, this balanced medium format quality plus dependable AFC is enough to justify the switch. It won't appeal to every shooter, but for those who have longed to bring Hasselblad into more dynamic environments, the X2D Mark II is not hype. It's progress.